Welcome to episode 1 of how I lost 214 pounds in 2.5 years. A lot has happened since I released the pitch for this series, like 6 months ago. Yeah, due to personal reasons, I had to put it on hold. It came at the worst possible time. But I have all that figured out now. Which brings us into today's topic, mental health. Because without good mental hygiene, losing weight becomes so much harder. Trust me. And you don't have to do this completely alone. There are therapists, personal trainers, dietitians, but more on that later. Now, I said I didn't know where to begin with this series, so what better place to start than the beginning? No, it started in middle school when I discovered this thing called freedom. And boy, did I enjoy freedom. So much so that it opened an entire can of worms that wreaked havoc on my life and my body. The can of worms I'm talking about is addiction. Not in terms of narcotics, because that would be an entire separate issue of its own. But I'm talking about addiction by its definition. The fact or condition of being addicted to a particular substance, thing, or activity. In this case, the substance is food, and the activity was eating. If the word addiction turns you off to this, just remember, being a recovering addict is nothing to be ashamed of, and the stigma around addiction is honestly ridiculous. So many people are addicted to so many things, though most people will never admit to it. You don't have to be addicted to hardcore drugs to be an addict. A few months before I started my diet, I was not well. I woke up every day dealing with migraines, skin problems, and just this feeling that I could only compare to having the flu maybe? I felt like I was dying. So I went to the doctor. The doctor came in, looked at my charts, and the first thing he said to me was, "Well, let's not kid ourselves. You are morbidly obese." At this point in my life, I was about 330 pounds. It was also my first time seeing this particular doctor. But I agreed, and I respected his honesty. Which, yeah, he's a doctor. They're supposed to tell you how it is. And you're not gonna like it sometimes.
Doctor says I gotta lose 55 pounds. I said, well, I'm losing you.
What stood out most to me wasn't just his honesty, it was his attitude after. He didn't make me feel like a failure. He didn't make me feel doomed or like I was going to die. He made me feel like I made an honest mistake. A mistake that happens to a lot of people. And all you have to do is fix it. Fast forward to later that year, my birthday, I stepped on the scale and to my not so much surprise, I weighed 379 pounds. I had obviously gained an insane amount of weight since that doctor's appointment. That was the heaviest I had ever been. I was disgusted in myself. I still had the migraines, the skin problems. I woke up every day feeling like I didn't even sleep. I hadn't left the house in months. But even at that low point, I remembered that doctor's visit and this light switch went off in my head. And I realized I made an honest mistake and I wanted to fix it. I really wanted to feel better and I wanted change. And that's when it hit me. I had to treat this like an addiction, because that's exactly what it is. Addiction isn't something that you can turn on and off, not overnight at least. The lesson here is I didn't change my eating habits overnight, nor did I change my mentality overnight. In fact, I felt so overwhelmed because I didn't even know where to start. And I needed help, which brings me to this next point. I am not qualified to give you medical or nutritional advice. I don't know your medical history, and even if I did, I probably wouldn't understand 90% of it. If you're serious about losing weight, make an appointment with your doctor, because education is a huge part of this process, and your doctor is a great source of information. They might even recommend a dietitian, which is cool. A dietitian will be able to give you a better idea of what foods you can and can't eat. It's really not that bad. There are so many healthy foods out there, and some of them are really good. But we'll talk more about that in future episodes. Key points to remember from today is, take care of your mental health. Understand that this is an addiction. It's going to take time, patience, and willpower. Before I end this episode, I have some homework for you if you are following along. Find your motivation. Figure out how to flip that light switch on in your head. Because without that moment, that spark, you're just going to torture yourself and risk falling right back into old habits. Take your time, do some deep thinking, because this isn't going to happen overnight. But most of all, be kind to yourself. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bells, and all that fancy stuff. Episode 2 is going to be a lot of fun, so stay tuned.